Wow, this just happened. Kevin McCarthy in a bit of a physical dust-up, an altercation with a fellow Republican member of the House. We'll give you all the details about that in a moment. Plus, things getting even uglier for the Hamas caucus in the House of Representatives. They tried to explain away their support of terrorism, and it didn't go well. And Tucker Carlson is in Spain, and the Spaniards love him. We'll show you that and a whole lot more on this live show starting right now, thanks to our friends at the Electronic Payments Coalition. Let's go. Literally moments ago, Tim Burchett, congressman from Tennessee, got into a physical altercation with Kevin McCarthy. He went down to the stairs of the Capitol and talked to Manu Raju of CNN, and, well, here's the story.
And I have Congressman Burchett with us here right now. So, Congressman, explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and when she was asking me a question, and at that time I got elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt. And he just, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you with his elbow.
Yeah, you can go on Claudia's Twitter account. It pretty much or X account. It's very accurate.
Okay, so then
we're going to continue with this interview in just a sec, and you're going to see the rest of what he had to say to Manu Raju. But let's do what he suggested and check out Claudia Grisel's X account, because she does have a pretty detailed description. While talking to Tim Burchett after the GOP conference meeting, former Speaker McCarthy walked by with his detail, and McCarthy shoved Burchett. Burchett lunged towards me. I thought it was a joke. It was not. A chase ensued. Burchett's back was to McCarthy and the detail walking by in the hallway, then the lunge. Burchett responded jokingly as McCarthy kept walking. "Sorry, Kevin, didn't mean to elbow." Then seriously yelled, "Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin? Hey, Kevin, you got any guts?" Oh, man. Burchett then looked back at me and said, "Jerk," referring to McCarthy. I asked if he had done that before. Burchett said no. That's when the chase ensued. Burchett took off after McCarthy and his detail. I chased behind with my mic. Burchett yelled after catching up to McCarthy, "Hey, Kevin, why'd you walk behind me and elbow me in the back?" McCarthy said, "I didn't elbow you in the back." Burchett says, "You got no guts. You did so. The reporter said it right there. What kind of chicken move is that?" Burchett continued, "You got no guts. You did so. The reporter said it right there. What kind of chicken move is that? You're pathetic, man. You're so pathetic." Burchett starts to walk away from McCarthy, tells me what a jerk, and then yells back, "You need security, Kevin." Burchett tells me that's the first point of communication with McCarthy since Burchett voted for McCarthy's ouster as Speaker last month. That's just it for communication since ouster vote. He's just a jerk, just a childish little... Burchett adds, "Did you see that?" He asks in disbelief. "I'm stunned too." Says he won't follow up with McCarthy on what happened. He's on a downhill spiral. That was pretty gutless of him. I'm disappointed in him. Burchett reiterates that he hasn't talked to McCarthy since he voted against him. All right, let's get back to the interview with CNN. Unbelievable. What is going on? Seriously.
And just explain. So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was, like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to cause a little bit of pain, a lot of pain. And so he just, of course, as he always does, he just denies it or blames somebody else or something, and it was just a little heated, but I just backed off because I saw no reason. I wasn't gaining anything from it. And then everybody saw it, so it didn't really matter.
Like he responded to you?
Yeah. He just acted like, what are you talking about? Who are you to, that kind of thing. And it's just, I think that's symptomatic of the problems that he's had in his short tenure as Speaker.
And were you face to face when you had this interaction?
Yeah, but there's security detail, and I get it. They were doing their job, so it wasn't exactly like he wouldn't turn around and face me. he kept scurrying, trying to keep people between me and him.
And then, so where did he?
I just let it go at that point. It wasn't.
Were you yelling?
He was. Yeah, I raised my voice to him. I thought it was appropriate. You just don't expect a guy who was at one time 3 steps away from the White House to hit you with a sucker punch in the hallway.
And did he raise his voice back to you?
Yeah, just that high pitched kind of thing, I believe, and that was about it.
And did he walk into his office? How did this end?
No, he just kept on walking down the hall. I don't know where his office is now. And he had his detail and his posse, so to speak, was with him.
So did his detail try to stop you?
Do what?
Did his detail try to stop you?
The detail kind of got one guy got between us there towards the end, but I wasn't looking to knock him out or anything. I just wanted to let him know I know it was him.
Were you injured?
I don't know, injured, man.
Did it hurt?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it still hurts because it was a shot to the kidneys, and it still hurts. Oddly enough, it's not anything. Probably not gonna do an ethics complaint on him. He's not worth it. He's gonna be gone here either after Christmas or next year. And like I said, he's got the $17 million, and he's gonna keep. He's already messing in everybody's races, and we all know that.
Are you accusing him of assault?
Am I accusing him
of assault?
I don't know. Ask a lawyer. It's over as far as I'm concerned.
He said to our colleague Melanie Zanona that this was a tight hallway. He denies this interaction. He says a tight hallway, and I bumped into him. He says that this was not an intentional thing.
There's 435 congressmen. I was one of 8 that voted against him. That hallway was there's plenty of room. You can walk four side by side. He chose to do what he did, and it'll end right here. I'm sure it'll just be a little asterisk on his storied career.
And he told me last week, you are only concerned about press and policy. That's why you voted him out. You're just concerned about the press.
Yeah, and that's why he held a exclusive press conference with CNN.
What do you mean? I mean, he doesn't think that you did it for any real reason other than to bolster your own profile.
I've gone through all the reasons. He just doesn't. He doesn't keep his word, and I think this is pretty much. It shows what he did. It just shows what he did, and it's just the way it is with him. He's not, he could have gone out on top, and he's chosen to go this route.
All right, that's the latest from Capitol Hill, from the fearless leaders who run our nation in the halls of Congress as our representatives, passing legislation that affects all of our lives. It's been said before, but I'll reiterate in my own words. Congress is really just middle school with a lot of red ties and no gym class. Now, a little bit about what those legislators are all debating right now. They're hearing about a thing called the big box bill. They're calling it the big box bill. It's really a big box bait and switch. These big companies like Target and Walmart and Costco, they're all behind this. They're actually pushing for it. When was the last time you saw a big company pushing for regulations? That should tell you something. It benefits them. And of course, these members of Congress, they're probably taken it hook, line, and sinker. So you need to educate them. You need to tell them you want nothing to do with this. What it really does is force small businesses and entrepreneurs to spend a whole lot of money on credit card processing they don't have to spend right now. And the big companies are going to absorb those costs and actually reap the benefits of the big payout because of it. It hurts the free market, it hurts our economy, and it hurts small businesses, and it's not good. So you need to go to stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. Learn about it, educate yourself. I assure you, after reading what's at thebigboxbaitandswitch.com, you'll be more informed than members of Congress and Senate about this thing. And then you need to, there's a little form there. You fill out your congressman's name, your senator's name, and you let them know to stop the big box bait and switch. That's stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. All right. Speaking of Congress, we've still got the pro-Hamas lobby continuing to call for a ceasefire. By the way, I just want to be clear. These people were calling for a ceasefire in Israel within 24 hours of the October 7th massacre. We attack. Now we want a ceasefire so you can't retaliate. Israel is defending herself. Israel is protecting herself. And the regular, usual suspects in the House Hamas caucus are all in now on the side of the terrorists. And they held a solemn little gathering of sorts yesterday to try to explain away their hate and their anti-Semitism, and it didn't help much. In fact, as you'll see, it made matters worse. Here's Ilhan Omar.
Something fascinating and bizarre in the fact that there are people who seem to be upset that there are rabbis and other people of faith out here asking for ceasefire. And it's bizarre because you would assume that if you are a religious leader, if you are a faith leader, that your number one priority would be to look into your faith, into the teachings of your faith, and to say, I oppose violence. Something
Yeah. So
fascinating.
if you call yourself a person of faith and you've got your own religious beliefs and you're not in favor of her ceasefire, you're not really truly faithful to your beliefs. That's it. Because I take all of my moral, ethical, and religious guidance from people like Ilhan Omar. She truly is a guiding light in ethical monotheism. By the way, as a guy who's been around Washington, D.C. for way too long and have seen these staged events on Capitol Hill, there's a tell here. I'm going to mute it, and I'll just narrate along so you can see what's going on. You see how she keeps looking over her shoulder and behind herself to talk to the people gathered behind her? You know why that is? See, usually when you've got a demonstration or a protest or some sort of assembly on Capitol Hill, you've got all these people you're speaking to, right? I mean, they got the podium set up there. They got the speakers behind them. These are all the speakers who are going to come in. And then you just assume that on the other side of the cameras, here where you're sitting watching it in the audience, that there's just this throng, these multitudes of people. Well, it's not true. See, this is all made for television. And she's not so good at this yet. There are other congressmen who are really good at it. And they act like they're talking to thousands of people that are out there just beyond the cameras. You see, I'm pretty good at it too. She's not. And so she's giving away the tell that the only people who came to this assembly are the people that you see right now. That's why she's turning and talking to them. You see. She's once in a while talking to the few cameras that happen to be assembled there. But you see how she turns around and wants to get validation from the crowd? Because that's the crowd. You're looking at the crowd. All right. Cori Bush is just as impressive a speaker as Ilhan Omar. And boy, oh boy, was she fired up about how she's really, really not in favor of terrorism. And she's really, really not anti-Semitic. No, really.
They label us anti-Israel. They label us anti-Semitic, and they label us terrorists. They lie about us and they smear us. But we know the truth, and the truth stands. We are rabbis. We are pastors. We are Congress members. We are surviving family members. We are human beings, and we are bound by our faith to demand a ceasefire now.
So she just spent a lot of time talking about who we are. We are rabbis. We are pastors. We, right? Just defining who we are. By the way, I do like that one of the rabbis that's standing out there is this very large, overweight woman. Not necessarily the perfect representation of Orthodox or conservative Jewish thought in America. Just saying. I've known a lot of rabbis in my time. I don't think she necessarily represents the mainstream. But do you notice how Cori Bush spends a lot of time describing who we are? We are rabbis. We are pastors. But listen to the beginning part of that speech again.
They label us anti-Israel. They label us anti-Semitic, and they label us terrorists. They lie about us and they smear us.
They say this and they say that and they lie. They. Who's they? Think to yourself. When she says they, them, those people, who do you think she means by they? They're all a bunch of liars. Next thing you know, she'll tell us that they really control the media. We know who they are in Cori Bush's mind. Meanwhile, here's Representative Jamal Bowman. Last time we checked with him, he was pulling a fire alarm and causing panic on Capitol Hill and getting away with a slap on the wrist.
And I've heard what was said here this evening before, that by me calling for a ceasefire with my colleagues and centering humanity, I am uplifting deeply what it actually means to be Jewish, because I'm centering the way in which God wants us to live with each other. So I feel grateful to be standing here.
I'm sorry. What now? Jamal Bowman is representing what it really means to be Jewish. Jamal Bowman is now demonstrating to all of us true Jewish orthodoxy. He has read the Talmud back and forth. He is an expert of the Torah. He invented Hebrew. Yes, he did. I believe he wrote Genesis. He's more Jewish than Abraham. I'm guessing he's not even circumcised, but that's another story. I'm sorry. You're representing Judaism better than the Jews and other pro-Israel Americans who are marching right now on the National Mall, calling for Israel to be allowed to protect themselves. Let's one more time. By the way, I like that not only does he say that he's the real Jew in the room, but he tells us what Judaism is really all about.
And I've heard what was said here this evening before, that by me calling for a ceasefire with my colleagues and centering humanity, I am uplifting deeply what it actually means to be Jewish, because I'm centering the way in which God wants us to live with each other. So
Judaism is really all about God telling us how he wants to live with each other. I'm no Jewish scholar, nor the son of a Jewish scholar, but I'm pretty sure there's more to it than that. And as we continue our walk down the bad part of the Israeli Hamas conflict here at home, and I assure you there's good stuff coming. There's some really good speeches that I want to show you. But let's bring up Cornell West. He's running as, I believe, an independent now for president. He was a professor at Harvard until they booted him out because he wasn't doing anything. But that's okay. You fail upward. He's now at Princeton because, you know, the Ivy Leagues have shown themselves to be really great moral bastions of critical thinking. Here's Cornell West telling it like it is. And honestly, I'm going to let him play out for a while here because this speech shows you exactly what the organized left in America thinks right now.
Years have been terrorized, traumatized, and hated, and we dish out love warriors and freedom fighters every generation, which means that we stand in solidarity with anybody who's occupied, anybody who's subjugated, anybody who's exploited, and that's why we focus on Gaza at this moment, because a genocidal attack is taking place.
yeah.
I'm going to let it finish. I know I said I'd let it play out, and I will. There's another minute or so. But I just want you, as you watch this speech, to really pay attention to the style of the delivery, the hand gestures, the intonations, the passion. Who does it remind you of?
10,000 dead and 4,000 precious children. And don't let anybody tell you that because you love Palestinians and Palestinian babies, that you hate somebody else. It just doesn't follow what our brothers are. We don't hate Jewish brothers. We don't hate Jewish sisters. We don't hate Jewish siblings. We loathe, we hate a vicious Israeli occupation. We loathe and we hate a vicious siege against Gaza. And the least we can do at this moment of overwhelming barbarity is have a ceasefire. And yet you got these cowards in Washington, D.C. talking about a humanitarian pause. Please get off the crack pipe. Wake up. See the humanity of precious Palestinian brothers and sisters. And the American empire has the nerve in this building to veto a humanitarian pause with our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters being bombed. What kind of country are we? What kind of people are we? And we send a message to Palestinian brothers and sisters and siblings in Gaza. You are not forgotten. We see you. We focus on you. We give attention to you. And it doesn't mean that we're not concerned with our indigenous.
Wow. It's a heck of a speech. It really is. You got to hand it to him. He's quite an orator. And by the way, for those of you who are intoxicated by that kind of thing and really taken in by that delivery, I want to assure you, if you really want to become an aficionado of this kind of speech, this kind of political rhetoric, it's a whole lot better when it's delivered in the original German. You can find those speeches online too. That was a great moment, by the way, for Cornell West to, in fact, let's play that video, the part where Cornell West talks about the hostages that are currently being held against their will after a month, including 9 American hostages, children, in fact. Great moment to say that those hostages need to be released. We don't have that? Oh, he didn't do that. Oh, he didn't do that. Well, he's talking about the carnage in Gaza in reaction to October 7th. So surely he spent some time talking about the barbarism of the October 7th terrorist attacks and condemning the terrorists who carried out the murder. Could we play? Seriously? Oh, he didn't do that either. He didn't do that either. That was never part of the speech. He didn't spend any time. He can't work up any kind of passion or emotion or anything for that. Meanwhile, we've mentioned over the past several weeks that something's going on in England, sadly. What used to be the bastion of Western civilization and progressive, and I mean progressive in a very literal sense, not how progressive is bastardized by the liberal left, but actual progressive liberal thought, classically liberal thought in the world, the country that brought us the Magna Carta and was the godfather of the freedoms that we enshrined in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Something has happened to that country. I speculated yesterday that it's mostly because they've imported bad ideas from other countries. But this man, Jeremy Corbyn, who was the leader of the Liberal Party, that's the Democrat Party, basically in England, as compared to here in the United States politics. Jeremy Corbyn, who actually almost was prime minister, had his party not been humiliated in an election, mostly because of his failed policies and ideas. Jeremy Corbyn appeared with Piers Morgan, and you'll be stunned by this, absolutely stunned that this guy was one election away from leading the United Kingdom.
Answer my
if you want to
question.
just shout at me,
Should-
that's your prerogative,
should Hamas-
your TV, your show.
Should Hamas
Okay?
stay in power?
Listen, what I said was a ceasefire means a ceasefire. It means both sides have to cease fire.
Yeah.
It means you then...
No, you said that. Should Hamas stay in power? It's actually
Are you done yet?
It's actually a critical question.
Are you done yet?
It's a critical
Are
question.
you done yet?
No, it's the question.
Are you done yet?
Should they stay in power?
Are you done yet?
This country says they're a terror group. Do you agree? And should they stay in
Listen,
power?
I do not approve, support, or welcome Hamas.
Are they a terror? Are they a terror group?
Everybody knows what they are.
Are they a terror group?
Look, Piers,
Can you say it?
Piers, can we have a discussion?
Can you say it?
Can we have a discussion?
Can you call them a terror
Piers,
group? Jeremy?
can we have a
Can you
discussion?
call them a terror
Piers,
group?
Is it possible to have a rational discussion?
Are you
with
prepared to call
Is it
Hamas
possible
a
to have-
terror group?
Is it possible to have a rational
You can't,
discussion
can
with
you?
Is it possible? Come on, answer that
You
question.
can't, can you?
answer it.
No, it's my show. You answer my question. Are Hamas a terror group?
Listen, can I...
Are they a terror group?
Piers, can I... speak?
Answer the question.
Can I speak?
Are they a terror group?
Piers,
No,
if you'll let
then,
me-
no.
If you let me speak...
Are
I'll
they
say-
a terror group?
If you'll let me speak, I'll say something.
Go on then.
A ceasefire means both sides...
You said that. Are they a terror group?
Listen, I said that
Are
because
they a
that is
terror
part
group?
of the process.
Are they a terror
And
group?
that will... Can we go...
Why can't you say it?
Piers, can we go through what...
I'll answer that, actually. It goes on for another minute and a half. He asked him how many, two dozen times. He can't say that Hamas is a terror group. Here's why. You know how he keeps going back to, we have to have a ceasefire. We have to ceasefire. See, a ceasefire suggests that you've got two humane, civilized, equal warring factions who respect the rules of law and respect the rules of war and adhere to some sort of international standard. We don't have that here. And so he's obfuscating. Anybody who's calling for a ceasefire is obfuscating the reality on the ground, which is one side is a sovereign nation, declared so and affirmed over 70 years ago by the world, which has a functioning democracy, by the way, and elections and freedoms, even for Palestinians, by the way. If you're a Palestinian living in Israel, you actually have more rights and more freedoms than you do in anywhere else in the Middle East under any of the other governments. You don't see them fleeing and trying to run and live in Iraq or Iran, by the way, and not that those countries would take them, because hatred of Palestinians goes way beyond the formation of the state of Israel. Hatred from Arab countries or Persian countries, I'll have you know. He also can't say that it's a terrorist group because he knows that if, in fact, it is a terrorist group, the only response to a terrorist group is to defeat them. And you don't defeat them with a ceasefire. One other thing, Jeremy Corbyn, there in England, and Western Europeans who are calling for a ceasefire now, and the left-wing Democrats and politicians and student protesters here in America demanding a ceasefire now. You ask them if they support a ceasefire in Ukraine and find out what the response is. Go ahead and ask them. Do you support a ceasefire in Ukraine? And if not, why not? What's the difference? That should be a fascinating conversation. All right, enough of the bad. Let's turn to the good. This is a protester speaking at a rally about the Israeli hostages. And it's a great speech. And what you need to know is this woman is Iranian.
The Islamic Republic, the supporter, trainer, and the biggest funder of terrorism in the Middle East, is holding my entire nation hostage, as they are posing attacks on your free living democratic nation. The atrocity that we have been witnessing against women, children, babies, the elderly, people in a music festival, just youth celebrating peace. The atrocity that is being celebrated today in London, in Paris, in Milan, all over America. The atrocity that is only anti-Semitic. Now we are witnessing here people talking about genocide, about ethnic cleansing, about hate on humanity. Where is their humanity? When they say from the river to the sea, they are chanting for genocide. The people of Iran are on your side, they're on my side, and they are on the side of humanity. So down with the Islamic Republic with Iran, down with Hamas, and down with Hezbollah, and woman, life, freedom! Shalom!
Shalom indeed. That woman, an Iranian national, now liberated from that prison state and living in the West, she has more moral clarity and more historic understanding of what's going on right now in the Middle East than pretty much every professor at any liberal arts college in America, especially the elite universities, and sadly, far too many members of the United States Congress, for the Democratic Party at least. That woman actually gets it. Why? Because, well, she's been there. She knows it. You want to talk about oppression? You want to talk about anti-Semitism? Go visit Iran, and then you'll figure it out. Let's continue on the vein of seeing what's good out there. Just moments ago, before we went on the air, this video emerged. It's sunrise out in front of the White House. A beautiful sight. Those Jewish men praying their morning prayers, led by a rabbi, and I assure you this is not a rabbi who was at that gathering of so-called rabbis calling for a ceasefire last night with the squad. This is in preparation for tens of thousands, hopefully well over 100,000 Israel supporters congregating right now as we speak on the National Mall, ready for their own march and their own demonstration, calling for support for Israel, support for the release of hostages, and support for a nation to be able to defend themselves. No nation on this planet would be treated the way Israel has been treated after the slaughter that we saw on October 7th. We certainly would not stand. We Americans, we wouldn't stand for other countries lecturing us about how we should defend ourselves and retaliate against a terrorist organization that slaughtered our people. What would you do as an American after 9/11 if we had foreign countries and foreign leaders lecturing us, telling us to stand down and not do anything in Afghanistan and other parts of the world to chase down the people who just murdered our innocent civilians? Why is Israel so different? Why is Israel treated so different? We all know why, and it's disgusting. That march is set to begin at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Lord knows on tomorrow's program we'll have some pretty good videos of that, and hopefully all peaceful videos. There's huge security in downtown D.C. right now as we speak. All right, do we have one more? We do have one more. This from a righteous British gentleman who was lecturing with no uncertain terms or language for that matter, the women who took to the streets of London. And we've pointed this out before. It's not universal. It's not 100%, but the vast, vast, vast majority of people we see tearing down those flyers that show young children who are held hostage right now in Gaza, the vast majority of those who are the most vocal on the front lines of these marches on behalf of Hamas, giving propaganda support to the Hamas terrorists, the vast majority that we can see in the Western world, in London and here in America, appear to be young, white, liberal, college-educated women. It's not 100%, but the majority, vast majority seems to be that. And it's weird. And this guy in England, he's put his finger on it.
These women here, go to Gaza. You want to go talk in Gaza? These women, they can't talk in Gaza. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's become fashion. It's fashion. It's fashion, this bullshit. It's fashionable. Yes. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? How many bombs? France, in fucking Syria, here, London. All it is an excuse to hate Jews. It's us. The problem's us, innit? It's us. You think tomorrow, if there was no Israel, this problem would be solved? They fucking kill each other. What, genocide? We're the worst that committed genocide. The fucking population has tripled in the last 10 fucking years. Genocide. These people they're fucking idiots. They're idiots blind by hate.
I mean, I'd rather have that guy as prime minister than Jeremy Corbyn. But that first part of what he had to say, it's fashionable. It's become fashionable. It's a trend. It's like the social contagion that we see on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram and other social media platforms that seem to be at the root of this huge outgrowth of transgender advocacy, activism, and even transgender identifications. It becomes trendy and fashionable. You're surfing this brand new trend, and now the big trend is to go, oh, hey, come on, Buffy, let's go out to the march. It's going to be righteous, man. We're fighting the man. It's a cause. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I love passion. You got to love that kind of passion, as he calls it as it is, with, like I said, some pretty specific language. But you know what? If you can't get worked up and use a 4-letter word now and again for impact about genocide and anti-Semitism and hate, and seeing your own nation overcome and overwhelmed by people who are celebrating that, then, you know, maybe it's okay to drop an F-bomb now and again. Maybe. Moving back to presidential politics here in America, Vivek Ramaswamy, love him or hate him, he gets you talking, he gets you thinking, and he seems pretty unafraid to go after individuals in the mainstream media and push back on boring, old, tried narratives that these journalists continue to try to traipse out. And it was no different last night with Chris Cuomo on News Nation. Again, whether you support Vivek Ramaswamy or not, what you're about to see is pretty cathartic.
Ramaswamy, why do you keep going at Nikki Haley? Why do you think this is going to bear fruit?
Chris, I don't know what you've been smoking, man. You and the rest of the mainstream media. It's laughable. Nikki Haley's been going after me the whole campaign. First debate, second debate. You know, she's been trailing me for much of the time, but I realize the establishment media has realized that there's a puppet they want to put up. I'm not playing that game. The grassroots of this country know they want a leader who isn't going to send us, our sons and daughters, to go die in foreign wars that racked up $7 trillion in debt. Dick Cheney 2.0 is taking over the GOP. Problem is the Democratic establishment media is now rooting for war too. I'm the only candidate speaking for a true America First agenda on that debate stage, and I think we're going to be successful.
Vivek, how are you going to bring people together when you just put together a tapestry of conspiracies? You know that I'm not pitching anything about
Chris,
Nikki Haley.
what are you talking about?
Come on my show.
There's no tapestry.
She won't even come on my show.
Tapestry
what are you talking about that thing?
I'm sure she doesn't.
Hold on a second. I let you put it out there, and now I get to finish smoking, and now I get to answer, which is, this is what the media is doing, is putting up Nikki Haley against me because they know I'm the real deal. Please. She hasn't even been on my show. I'm just watching you get slapped around by her, and I'm wondering what your strategy is.
The fact of the matter is, Chris, my strategy is calling out the mainstream media like I did to Kristen Welker at the start of that debate. I asked her about the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, told her to look the audience in the eye and apologize to them. Just like I'll tell you, you're a part of the mainstream media despite pretending like you're not. Look the audience in the eye and tell them how you covered for your brother for all that happened.
I'm part of the mainstream media. Hey, listen.
And you play the same games that the rest of the mainstream media does.
Take care of
you're
your
doing
family?
it tonight.
That's fine.
You have been covering for your brother. You have been playing a game. You were kicked off there on CNN. So
of course I help my brother. Of course I do.
And you know what? That's been.
By the way, this is kind of an admission from Chris Cuomo because he's denied this all the time. Now he said, did you hear the words he just said? Of course I covered for my brother. I covered for my brother. Can I just remind you, because we have short memories in this country, his brother was Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. Chris Cuomo at the time had a primetime show on CNN, and he used that platform to, yes, cover for his brother. Cover for what? What was his brother being accused of? His brother was being accused of policies that led to the deaths of thousands of senior citizens because his brother, the governor of New York, forced COVID positive patients into nursing homes, exposing them to the most vulnerable individuals during the entire pandemic, the elderly, especially the elderly with comorbidities. And he's now he's bragging about the fact that he covered for his brother, even though he denied it when he was finally fired by CNN. He covered for his brother, all right. He covered up for his brother.
And journalistic standards that have now been failed, not just by you, but by every member of the broken political media. So yes, it is going to take an outsider to call it out. And you want to look at
everyone in the media is responsible for covering for my brother. See what I'm saying?
90%.
You miss
90% of the media is colluding with respect to pushing one answer.
Yeah, no, actually, that wasn't too broad. And I would answer Chris Cuomo 100%. Yes, every person in the media is guilty of covering for your brother. Or as Vivek said, about 90%, because technically I'm in the media, right? We do have our little wedge. We have a kids table. It's not like Thanksgiving with the kids table because the kids table is in the same room. Our kids table is actually like in the backyard, in the alley. That's way, way, way back there. But yes, 100%. The mainstream media covered for his brother. Now, they weren't doing it because they had some family tie like Chris Cuomo did. They did it because they're ideologically aligned with him. And because if you remember, Governor Andrew Cuomo became the bête noire of the Trump administration. He became the leading voice fighting against Donald Trump. And boy, there's nothing that binds a family together, whether they are blood relatives or whether they're distant cousins or whether they're just, thrown together in like a foster home. Nothing binds the family and the mainstream media together like hatred of Donald Trump. And more importantly, you who vote and support Donald Trump. Yeah, the answer is yes, Chris Cuomo. They're all guilty of supporting your brother. All right, moving on to Tucker Carlson. When last we checked with Tucker Carlson, he was living his best life at Madison Square Garden, making that grand entrance with Donald Trump. And then before you know it, 48 hours later, he's marching on the streets of Spain. Now, these protests are a grassroots organized effort to push back and demonstrate against what's being described as basically a socialist soft coup of the Spanish government. And Tucker decided, as these protests continue day after day after day, he's decided to lend his face and support to the cause. Look at him. What is he doing in Spain? You know, there have been rumors that Donald Trump is considering Tucker as a running mate. And of course, Tucker, I mean, knowing Tucker for many years, although I haven't talked to him about a year now, I think Tucker wants no business with electoral politics. There's no way he would accept such a thing. Now I wonder. Sort of carrying out his own the Tucker Carlson foreign policy right now, posing for pictures and lending support to the cause. By the way, while he was there, a Spanish protester showed him that he has a Tucker Carlson T-shirt.
I have that tie. Oh, he still wears that tie.
The kids love Tucker. There's no denying it. One local citizen journalist on the ground, though, actually got a soundbite from him. Why are you here, Tucker? Why are you marching in Spain?
Anybody who would violate your constitution, potentially use physical violence to end democracy is a tyrant, is a dictator. And this is happening in the middle of Europe. The world is not seeing how important it is. But we hope to change that.
Well, it's true. I mean, honestly, we didn't really spend a whole lot of time on these marches that have been going on for the last few days. And Tucker Carlson going there draws draw attention to it. And so there you have it. It worked. You should look it up, read about it, educate yourself on it at your favorite website. I'm hoping it's one of the town hall media websites. And maybe this will actually make a difference. Good for you, Tucker. And one wonders if he does have some sort of interest in running for office, given that. All right, a couple more fun things here. I love this. You know, we ran this video last week of an Israeli version of Saturday Night Live that is funnier than anything you'll see on Saturday Night Live. We've got another example of it. I don't know who made this, but it is a parody of a mother calling Harvard University for advice about admissions. Take a look.
Harvard Admissions, how may I help you?
Hello, my name is Jama. My son Hamid would really like to register to your establishment next year. I think you might have...
Look at the picture of her son on the wall there. As you're about to learn, Hamid is a terrorist. And she's very proudly displaying a picture.
Heard of him. He was one of the Hamas fighters who participated in the fight of October 7th. A real political activist. So I wanted to ask if you have some kind of political activism scholarship.
No, all of our scholarships are need-based. There aren't any merit-based scholarships.
All right, now this is an actual live phone call. They pranked call Harvard Admissions, and it would be at this moment where any normal sentient human being with any level of morality would say, "Ma'am, your son is a murdering criminal, and we don't want him in this country, let alone at Harvard University." But as you're about to find out, that never occurs.
It would not help if he says that he is Hamas fighter.
Everything that a student does helps them in the process.
Okay, so that would be helpful if he writes down that he was in the October 7th massacre.
In addition to everything else, our process looks at the student's entire secondary school career, both inside and outside of the classroom.
And the massacre is an advantage, right?
Any of their activities. We look at all of their activities inside and outside of the classroom.
And don't worry, he didn't rape any captive. He's very respectful for gender self-definition. He only killed them. He's very feminist. So it will be okay, right?
All I can say to you is that he can apply.
Great. Because he's very respectful for ethnic minorities. He only slaughtered white babies. We don't need more white male in the world, right? Hello.
All right. Do you you have any other admissions questions I can answer for you?
Yes, we want to make sure about your campus rules, so we don't do anything forbidden. You can smoke in the campus surroundings.
I'm not sure if you can smoke on.
Okay. What about drinking?
Drinking's not allowed.
What about raping?
That's not allowed on campus either.
Okay. How about slaughtering babies around the campus?
That's not allowed on campus either.
What about wearing a hat?
You can wear a hat.
Oh, good. I was afraid for a moment. Okay. He's looking forward to be in your school. He has lots of very, very fun activities for him and the students and everyone. It will be so much fun. Thank you very, very much.
It's kind of dark, but you got to laugh. And again, this is what satire is all about. This is what comedy is supposed to do. Make you laugh at the absurdity of it all. And by the way, satire only works when it's rooted in reality and in truth. That's only funny because there's some truth to it. All right. And finally, the Army. You probably saw this if you were watching college or pro football over the weekend, over the Veterans Day weekend. The Army is running this ad to boost recruitment.
Stand up!
There you go. That's cool, right? Any red-blooded American man watching that, under any other circumstances, would be like, you betcha I want to jump out of a helicopter and go airborne and become a paratrooper. I mean, have you seen Band of Brothers? Yes, that's what I want. If that's all you knew about the Army, it's a no-brainer. That's a brilliant, brilliant ad. The problem is that's not all we know about the Army. A whole lot more going on over at the Army, isn't there? And unfortunately for the United States Army recruitment people, they put that video up that you just saw on YouTube. And of course, YouTube is, in many respects, an open forum of ideas. And so people took to the comment section, and we want to share some of them with you. Top comment: as a white cis male descended from people who fought in most conflicts this country has seen going back to the Revolutionary War, I feel that joining up would be merely getting in the way of our BIPOC and LGBTQ2A+ troops, wasting valuable resources better spent on them. The true strength and future for this country. That's got 2,000 likes and counting. I want to wish all the LGBTQA+ illegals and feminists all the best with processing at MEPS. You've got this. As a man with privilege, I would like to pass this opportunity on to those that have just arrived from Mexico. You see where we're going here. And by the way, this goes on and on. I can read comments like this for the next 10 minutes. If you're a white man of fighting age, stay home so you can provide for and defend your family and community. They are worthy of your blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Don't forget that diversity is your greatest strength. Best case scenario would therefore be 100% diversity, meaning 100% non-whites. By the way, did you notice that the dude they focused on jumping out of the helicopter was not very diverse? You know, for recruitment purposes during football games, they don't lead with the drag queen story hour that you'll get to enjoy over at Fort Obama, right? No. That's not what they're enticing you with. There, they get the typical white, strong, heterosexual male dressed up in Army fatigues. They got G.I. Joe there jumping out of the helicopter for recruiting. But it's a different story, isn't it? Okay, meaning 100% non-whites. This sounds really solid and has my full support. After they served for Israel, they could also help bolster the country as pioneers for open borders there, as Israel will not be able to survive without it. Further on, I'd like to join the military, but as white heterosexual male, I don't want to take opportunities away from minorities. It keeps going. Diversity is our strength, so you need more diversity. I recommend 100% diversity for the most strength possible. As a former 18 Echo, I say stay home. Our biggest fight is no longer foreign. It's domestic. I wish the LGBTQ people of color, womans, all the best in their fight for Israel. No more toxic masculinity. Let diversity and LGBTQ reap the benefits of military service. Best of luck. That's just a sampling of the comments there. Some good, some bad, some kind of ugly. But still, this is what happens when people have been beaten over the head with the new standard in the United States military. It's devastating. Something's got to change there. Maybe we'll have an election soon, and that'll change things. All right, that's it for a very loaded day today. Tomorrow, we'll let you know if Kevin McCarthy is taking a pot shot at anybody else in Congress. You know he wants to deck Matt Gaetz. You just know it. That's the fight we want to see. In the meantime, thanks for watching today. If you're watching on delay taped, you should know that we go live every day, anywhere between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Just make sure that you like and subscribe wherever you're watching this with notifications. So when we do go live or schedule to go live, you'll get a notification. You'll be able to watch us. In the meantime, my name is Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. We'll be back next time.